Listen to this deal, Josh. It's incredible. For the holidays, Hoops fans are being gifted the return of NBA action in its 75th season. To ring in the new year of basketball, DraftKings is offering a full week of daily fantasy millionaire contests along with a plus 75 point spread boost on any opening night team. Fans can head over to DraftKings.com or download the app to learn more.
To get more into the open of the NBA season, it's all going down tonight and tomorrow night. Julian Edlow, DraftKings NBA analyst, joins us right now. Julian, how you doing on this Tuesday?
I'm doing great, guys. I actually have the Lakers plus 75 tonight, so I'm hoping that one plays out to get me my bonus cash on DK Sportsbook.
I got that bet in already too. I felt that was the easiest one because let's be realistic. I don't really know what to think of the Warriors Nets game, although I don't think anybody's going to lose by 75. But I do feel like coming into this season that the Lakers are not just the defending champions. One could argue they might be the most improved team from last year to this season.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The short turnaround, it's easy to kind of think, will LeBron, will AD maybe take a little bit of time off, a little bit of time to get into the season. Both looked great in preseason games. That last one against the Suns, Anthony Davis was in mid-season form. LeBron played very well. And then you look at the depth. Schroeder and Harrell were like the two favorites for sixth man. And they had both of those guys without losing much. You lose Danny Green, I guess, but you have Gasol in the mix as well. It was a championship caliber team that didn't have much trouble winning it last year, albeit in unique circumstances, and they only get deeper. This bench is really going to help when LeBron, AD take a night off potentially. I think this team is going to steamroll once again through the regular season.
Yeah, right now they are definitely the favorite to win the championship at plus 275 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So a fun hypothetical that's being thrown around today. I want to get your thoughts. The Lakers to win the title or the field?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I mean, what is, I guess the field is then like maybe minus 300 or whatever if you're offering that up. You can never take one team against the field unless we're going back to some of those Warriors teams that were right about even money to win it all. Anything can happen. We know how Anthony Davis, LeBron doesn't get hurt. He's a robot, but Anthony Davis has gotten hurt in his career, and that's something that would obviously derail those odds. So the value better in me says that you have to take the field there, but it's a pretty wide margin. I mean, the Clippers and Bucks at plus 550 are the two next teams there. So last year was one of the more competitive fields we had in terms of odds. And then when we saw how dominant the Lakers were and what they've added this offseason, they deserve to be a pretty significant favorite.
Now, it's been suggested by some, Julian, that the Lakers, because LeBron has a history of starting slow and it was a shortened offseason, and because they have so much depth that we might see LeBron, maybe back off the pedal a little bit at the beginning of the season. So there's a possibility that if you're someone who jumps on to the DraftKings Sportsbook and you see the Lakers over or under 66.5% win percentage, that plus 100 might look really good for you on the under because there's a possibility that they might start out slow and they might not actually get the projected win total.
I think LeBron can start off slow, and the team might not necessarily start off slow. He's still going to be. Yeah, he looked good in preseason, and if he's giving them that much in preseason, he's going to be giving you something in the regular season. So I don't think he has nothing to prove. There's no reason that he has to play 35, 40 minutes and go balls to the wall every night. But it doesn't mean that the team is going to be bad. Like I said, you get Schroeder and Harrell in there. Gasol as well to a degree, and you still have Anthony Davis to lead you on nights that LeBron takes off or nights that LeBron maybe plays less minutes. I still think the Lakers are going to wind up with the best record in the West this season.
Let's flip it to another superstar in this league, Kevin Durant. I'm sure all the eyes are going to be on him with the Brooklyn Nets, and a lot of people are writing them into the finals, writing them into a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I date back to last year and all the media hype that the Sixers had, the year before, all the media hype that the Boston Celtics had, and they fell on their face. So my question to you is, how do you feel right now looking at Kevin Durant and Kyrie together? Do you think that it's a cakewalk, or do you think there might be some bumps and bruises along the way?
It's definitely not a cakewalk. And, I mean, you look at that division with Boston, with Toronto, and with Philly, obviously, there's really good teams in there. It's going to be very competitive. So I think from a win total perspective, I don't necessarily know, or a win percentage perspective, I don't know if they're going to wind up winning that division. There's a lot of competitive teams in that division that are good bets, but they certainly have the most talent, and I would bet on them I would favor them, at least the way that they are favored, to come out of the East. I think they deserve to be favorites over Milwaukee, really, when you look at the level of talent that they have. And it's not just Kyrie and Durant. Other good players there, Levert, Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris just got paid, Allen, another big guy there. So they have a lot of pieces. The big question is two things for me. I mean, we have to see Durant stay healthy, which for the most part in his career he has. It's just been this one big thing. And then Kyrie Irving, he hasn't been healthy either last year with Brooklyn or during his time in Boston. So not only does he have to stay healthy, he has to stay mentally positive to the degree that he's not going to have one of these outbursts that kind of derails his team. It was clearly an issue in Boston that even though things haven't worked out with Kemba Walker yet, the locker room got a lot better with Kemba Walker in over Kyrie Irving. So the Nets have a lot of issues that they need to work out to prove that they should be favored in the East. But from a pure talent perspective, it's tough to go anywhere else.
Julian Edlow joining us here on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Julian Edlow on Twitter for your NBA, DFS, and sportsbook analysis. Julian, I mentioned this idea earlier, and I'll throw it out to you, and you could chew on it, or you can tell me I'm crazy. So I think that I'm watching this Kyrie Durant situation. I'm starting to wonder if it doesn't work. Let's say Durant and Kyrie can't get along. They're too much, conflicting. There's too much clashing going on. Could maybe that be the key to Harden getting out of Houston? Is the Nets say, you know what, this Kyrie thing isn't working. Why don't we just swap Kyrie for Harden?
I love that idea, and as somebody that has covered the Boston Celtics a little bit in the past, I was kind of part-time on my way out, going full-time into the DFS and sportsbook stuff during Kyrie's first year here in Boston. So I only got a little bit of coverage with him, but I would do that now if I'm Brooklyn. It's happened a little bit too much recently with Kyrie. It happened last year where he, didn't seem to be in the best state of mind. And then he starts off this year saging arenas and saying that he's not going to talk to media, which is clearly in his contract, something he gets paid like $30 million a year to do. That's one of your duties. I just think that Kyrie Irving is I don't even know the word to describe Kyrie Irving, but I would rather have James Harden than Kyrie Irving, and I don't need to see how KD and Kyrie play out to believe that. It's not like James Harden is a random guy. He's somebody that has a good relationship with Kevin Durant from their time in OKC. So I would, and James Harden's just as talented as Kyrie Irving is. James Harden is a more unique talent right now. He might not be quite the highlight reel that Kyrie is. His style is, more effective, but a little bit rougher on the eyes. The step back threes, getting fouled and all that. But I think Harden and Durant is a better combo than Kyrie and Durant, and I wouldn't hesitate to make that happen if that's what it took.
How do you read the James Harden debacle right now? I mean, we saw this morning that he's apparently throwing basketballs at his teammates, and, there were reports from Woj and Shams about Ben Simmons being available. Daryl Morey shut it down. Do you think that the 76ers is a real possibility? Like, what do you see right now with everything happening with James Harden?
I absolutely think the 76ers is a real possibility. I don't think James Harden's a bad guy or a bad teammate. I think that he is just doing what he can to get out of Houston. He clearly doesn't want to be there, and the season starts tonight, so you better make it happen, quick, especially in an abbreviated season like this one. So I just think James Harden wants out of Houston. Every indication seems to point to that, and there's only so many places that he can go, only so many places he can make a trade work. And if you're going to Brooklyn and it's not for Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant, it's almost impossible to do. So I think the I think the Kyrie and Harden swap would be the only real way to do that. But if you're Philly, it has to be. There's no way to do it without Simmons or Embiid, and Simmons is the more reasonable name in that scenario. So that's one that if I'm Philly, again, it's a talent upgrade. Simmons is great, but without a jump shot, he can't be that game-changing player that Harden is. So I make that swap and upgrade my talent if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers.
Now, though that being said, the Sixers, Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers have both said multiple times they came to Philadelphia specifically because Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are here. So it's not just one guy, it's both guys saying that. So how much do you buy into them saying that, and how do you think that translates into this season? Because Doc Rivers is saying he expects to have the number one defense in the league. People believe Joel Embiid is in the quote-unquote best shape of his life. You know, people believe this is a much upgraded roster. So how do you view that situation?
Well, they're being truthful about one thing. They can be a very good defensive team with Ben Simmons, and the Sixers are a better defensive team with Ben Simmons, no doubt about it. But if those guys showed up to Philly and they had James Harden and Joel Embiid instead of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, you can probably just insert the same quote with James Harden's name, and they would be just as excited or more excited to have that duo. So you got to say what you got to say. We've seen it happen plenty of times where you promote the talent that you have, and then if a situation comes up where you can become more talented, you generally take advantage of it.
Julian Edlow joining us here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Julian Edlow for all your DFS Sportsbook NBA analysis. Julian, one more before we let you go. Is there a team that we have not talked about yet that you are excited for this NBA season as it starts tonight?
I mean, I think we know who the contenders are. We know who the major players are in the East, and we got the Lakers and the Clippers out West. What I will say, I don't think that any of these teams have a shot to win it, but it'll be interesting to see how some teams take a step like the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic, who is the favorite for MVP. If he takes that step, he should be able to elevate the Mavericks to a level where they're and they played the Clippers tough last year, and even tougher out in the Western Conference. And then you got the Phoenix Suns, who I think that 8-0 momentum from the bubble is going to carry over a bit. I think that gave them some confidence that they didn't necessarily have before. And Devin Booker is a legit superstar. So you add Chris Paul to that mix, and the way that he should help DeAndre Ayton get easier buckets around the rim, I think that that's a team that should jump into the playoff mix and be able to make some noise and at least be an exciting team to follow throughout the season. So not necessarily contenders, but teams on the up in the Western Conference, I would say.
Julian, always appreciate the time. Good to hear from you, and enjoy the action tonight.
All right. Thanks, guys. You too.